Welcome to the BankTalk podcast, the show where we talk to leaders and experts from the community banking sector. Whether you are a current CEO or aspire to be one, this podcast will give you valuable insights and advice on how to run your financial institution better. Each episode features a different topic and a guest who shares their experience and knowledge with us. Tune in and learn something new with BankTalk podcast.
Hello and welcome to BankTalk. I'm Jordan Kelly, your host and consultant at Remedy Consulting. Today we are sitting down with Robin Early and Jeremy Solsaa from Wipfli to talk about customer relationship management or CRM systems. Robin and Jeremy's combined 30 plus years in the lending industry have given them tremendous insight into the correlation between a really strong CRM strategy and the ability for bank leaders to have real-time access to actionable data. So without further ado, let's dive into our discussion. Robin, Jeremy, thank you so much for joining me today on BankTalk.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that we can sit down and have this discussion today because I know we've been talking about it for a while. It's an important topic, and quite frankly, it's a conversation that comes up, I suppose, more frequently with banks and credit unions of all sizes than I potentially may have anticipated. So let's dive right in here if you're okay with it. Jeremy, tell me a little bit about yourself. Robin, tell me a little bit about yourself. But, then Jeremy, tell me a little bit about Wipfli and specifically how you manage CRMs.
Yeah, happy to. My name is Jeremy Solsaa. Again, thank you very much for letting us be a part of this. I'm a manager of business development at Wipfli. Wipfli itself, we're a local Milwaukee, Wisconsin company. We're about 100 years old. We've been around since 1930. We're a top 25 advisory and accounting firm with really all the services across, the core services from tax and audit to compliance and risk. But we have a very robust digital practice as well, from digital transformation, strategy, as well as business transitions. So a little bit of background on Wipfli. We are verticalized, and I feel that's one thing that really sets us apart is that deep industry expertise. The particular vertical that Robin and myself we work for is the financial services, which is predominantly banks and credit unions. And, over the years, we built tremendous relationships, with many banks and credit unions. And so we know all aspects of banking, from commercial to residential to wealth management, and all the details involved in all those areas to help them really succeed, whether it's helping them form that digital transformation or execute on their digital transformation.
Fantastic. What's so interesting, based on kind of the conversation that we had before we started recording here this morning is, we'd kind of talked about all the different areas of Wipfli, but, when it comes to specifically questions that banks and credit unions have around data management and CRMs specifically, Wipfli's, depth of knowledge in this area is so vast that there's so much overlap and really expertise on this call today to talk through this with us, which I appreciate. So Robin, tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Robin Early. You'll probably notice that I do not have a Midwest accent. I'm from Texas, and I actually came from, the banking world, just like a lot of our associates that Jeremy was referring to, that we have the expertise. We're former bankers. Dating myself, my first job out of school was a teller at a savings and loan. So, and, through that, have worked lots of different roles within, the FI space. I was at a financial institution for about 18 years and was an executive there. And so lots of great experience bringing to the table. Kind of how I ended up on the consulting side was I was introduced to CRM when I was at the financial institution and part of the team who implemented it, and really saw how it impacted our employees, how it impacted our business and our growth, as well as our customers. And so because of that, we had great success, and I really have a passion for helping other FIs, and so transitioned over to the consulting side several years ago.
Fantastic. So Robin, let me quiz you a little bit on your deep knowledge specifically in this area. If I am looking at a cross section of banks and credit unions between, let's say, 1 billion and 5 billion in assets, What percentage use a CRM today and in what capacity?
It's relatively small. It's about 25%. Actually use a CRM. And what's interesting, and when I say CRM, I think there's some misconceptions about it. A lot of banks and credit unions think they have a CRM. And what I mean by that is they're using a CRM that really is maybe their loan origination system, or they're using their core that says that they have a CRM, but really it's not what we would consider a true CRM that goes wall to wall, that impacts the whole organization, where you get the full benefit. It's maybe siloed to one department, and it's maybe a managed package that you can't really configure and meet the needs of the whole organization.
All right. So, in your mind and in your industry space, what is a true CRM? What does it mean to a financial institution?
Gosh, well, I think that, there's a difference between, let's take, for instance, the core. The core is really used for managing customer data, interactions, ensures regulation, compliance. It's a secure place where you do your data handling. So that's what it's designed to do. So when they say that they have a CRM, it's really, they may have an arm of it under the core, but it's really not what the core is designed to do. A true CRM really is what it's doing is it's eliminating silos. It provides an organization-wide customer relationship management. So I look at it as the engagement layer. So it lays on top of your core, all of your loan origination systems, and then you also can bring in other systems such as e-signature, your knowledge base. And so it's the engagement layer that lays over the top of all that, eliminates silos, and eliminates, the swivel chair. Your team members aren't having to get in 10 to 15 systems at a time, for example. They can go in and look at the CRM and get the whole picture from all those different systems in one place, which really helps your frontline staff be able to communicate with your back office team and with the mortgage team and the loan officers and the processors. All are on one page. You see everything that makes it easy for one call resolution, for example. And it really benefits not just your team members, but your customers as well.
So help me put this into context a little bit. For a COO or chief lending officer of a financial institution, describe to me what a well-tuned CRM system looks like versus one that is not optimal.
Okay. Oh gosh, that's a great question. Okay, so first of all, you've got to look at data integration. You can't have it, like I said, like just an LOS that says that they have a CRM. You need to have a CRM that's going to lay over your multiple LOSs. So it's that engagement layer. It allows you to really deepen your relationship because you see the whole picture. It also needs to be user friendly. You want to have a system that's very easy to use, that team members can go in and look at it and learn the system and discover a lot about it and the functionality that's really going to give you a high adoption rate. So your team members want to use the system. You really need advanced analytics and reporting. So let me give you an example of that, how really impacted us at our financial institution. You've got to generate real-time insights. You've got to be able to show the customer behavior, the sales trends. You've got to be able to have efficiency and look at forecasting as well. One of the things that we did was with our CRM, we were able to create what I call a LOAF dashboard, which stands for leads to opportunities to application to funded loans. So that's kind of where we started. The report shows the lead source, such as, did this lead come from a marketing promotion, or did it come from a retail branch employee? Was it a referral? And then you're able to track the conversion rate of that lead all the way through the life cycle to a funded loan. A lot of institutions don't have insight in their marketing team to the full life cycle of a lead, for example. They lose it at the application level, and then additional insights around that LOAF report you can dig into. So the CLO can start understanding why leads are being lost. What are the leads that are being lost from what marketing source, for example? So, we were able to reallocate our marketing funds really quickly, like on a Monday morning after we saw the weekend results, because we had really robust data. And then you also can do things like, do we need additional training for the frontline staff based on the conversion rates that are coming from the referrals from the call center and the branches? What do you need to do for them to make sure that they are quality leads that, for example, are being sent over to your lending team? So advanced analytics and reporting, you also need to be able to automate routine tasks. So for instance, something like onboarding new customers, that can all be automated within the system. And then finally, scalability and flexibility. You've got to have a CRM that should be able to be customized, so not a managed package, and it really needs to be able to grow as you grow and your needs change.
So really what I'm hearing is the ability to have a wide variety of robust solutions, specifically to be able to go across, really track those relationships from the very beginning all the way through end of the loan, not just to the beginning of an application, which, for the leaders of a bank or a credit union, that means that there's so much application here for both, anybody on the marketing side and on the lending side.
Yeah. And I think too, and it's not just marketing lending, it's everyone. So let's take service. You can do the same exact thing for service. So let's say, customer walks in and has a service request, something they need done that they can't do in the branch. The branch employee can enter that in your CRM, and, then it's passed over and routed automatically to the correct person, to the correct team. It's picked up, they work it. And then, if the customer calls back in, you can, whoever's helping them can see immediately what the status is, who they were talking to. And then you can look at, your staffing models around that. For example, like, how many service requests are being done? What are the trend lines? How soon are they resolved? And you can look at all that data through the analytics and decide what your staffing model should be in the back office for operations. So it's not just the sales tool. Your CRM, and I think a lot of people think, oh, we don't need CRMs for sales. It's really way more than sales.
And that is so helpful, because my next question for you is about sales specifically. But I think that that's a really good clarification point, because, in the conversations that I've had with CEOs and COOs of banks, when we talk about a CRM, it is typically a conversation that's centered on the sales side. So really understanding the robust nature and application is so important, especially if you are an FI leader who is looking to capitalize on your CRM.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Sales is definitely what a lot of people decide to go with the CRM route to start with, but there's a lot more to it.
So let me ask you my sales question. Have you seen a correlation between a better optimized or a better grade of CRM and more sales?
Absolutely. And I think it depends on the depth of what you can customize or build around, like your leads and referrals. And you can also look at the ability of really offering up, what is a relevant next best product. That's what everyone wants to figure out, is how do you do next best product. So and it has to be done in a way that, your team members feel like they can confidently know that this is a relevant product and you're not just offering product of the month. So taking the data, what does that customer have as far as products with your institution? What do they have elsewhere from their credit report data? Being able to offer up next best product, those things really set apart your CRM, as far as, are you able to leverage the data you have and the data that, can be found elsewhere? Those things really do matter, and being able to look at what you're able to implement in your CRM.
It is very interesting to see that direct correlation between the two, specifically as a proof point in terms of the value that CRMs truly bring to an institution of any size.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's so many stories that I could give you around sales where we've seen it make such a great impact.
Give me your top story, the story that comes to you just right off the top of your head.
So at the institution that I was at, our use case was going to be starting with marketing and indirect lending, just as an example. And we were really trying to figure out how to take those indirect auto loans and make those new customers sticky. How could we make them want to stay with us past the time of their auto loan? And so that was our use case. And we decided to try it out with a pilot program with one employee as a guinea pig, and grew that from a department of one to 6 team members within 2 years, and growing it from nothing to $140 million in mortgage, products. So simply from cross-selling the indirect portfolio. So, and that would not have been possible without having a CRM and having an indirect onboarding process that really worked, that was able to be streamlined and automated, and, bringing in all those indirect loans from the LOS and bringing it all into one location.
That's fantastic. I love to hear the stories, the real world examples, because I think it just puts it into such great perspective for not only for me, but for lenders, lenders in general.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me switch gears a little bit. Let me spend a minute here on privacy, user privacy, and data security. Explain to me what that means in the world of CRM systems and what our listeners should be thinking about.
Okay, well, I'm glad you brought this up. You obviously want your CRM to be just as, secure as what your core is. So it's really important that you look at what the CRM that you're choosing has to offer, especially like, for example, in the way of encryption. Encryption, should be mandatory for every piece of customer data that's stored in your CRM. So that way, if an attacker does get the data, they won't be able to read or use it without the encryption key. So that's kind of a best practice. You really want to vet what your CRM vendor's offering around encryption. Another aspect is controls. Not everyone in the bank needs to access the CRM, at least everything that's in the CRM. So you want to make sure that your roles and profiles when you're implementing are set up with the appropriate permissions based on their job duties. And, one area that we see that is kind of missed sometimes, which is interesting, is your IT team really needs to incorporate best practices with regular audits, just as they would with any other system. We find that sometimes it's not, and it really should be. It should, the patches, the updates need to be performed regularly. Some CRMs have regular releases that needs to be made sure that those are done, and that you're monitoring for any risk, suspicious activity, just like you would any other systems. And, just make sure that you really understand the security that's going to come with your platform.
Give me a little bit more insight into that. Why is that an area, based on what you've seen, that is occasionally, or maybe even more than occasionally, missed?
I think this goes back to what people look at the CRM as. I think that a lot of times, the perspective is, oh, it's just a sales tool, or they don't think of it as, we're going to be putting all of our data in this CRM. They're thinking, oh, people are just entering leads, or they're just thinking, just this one department is using it. It's not impacting everybody. It's just the lead in referrals. Going back to the fact that they think it's only a sales tool. They don't understand that you're really going to start doing those integrations and pulling in data from all these different systems. And so I just think that really needs to be made clear when you start talking about those integrations and talking with your IT team, because I think initially when IT hears, oh, we're doing CRM, they're not thinking that. They think, oh, it's sales. It's going to be just tracking leads and referrals. They don't understand the depth of the customer data that's going to go in there. So like one of the things that we regularly implement within CRMs is bringing in like your last 60 to 90 days of transactions into the CRM, coming straight from the core into the CRM, which allows your contact center employees to be able to stay within the CRM and not having to go back out to the core. That's a perfect example of something, and you want to make sure that that's guarded just as closely as you would the core. But most IT folks aren't thinking that when they're thinking we're going to implement CRM right off the bat.
Interesting. It makes a lot of sense when you describe it that way. I think it makes sense on why it's something that may be routinely missed.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me pivot a little bit. I want to touch on AI. This is such a hot topic across the board right now, and introducing any level of AI to CRM systems would seemingly have a huge impact by providing those data-driven insights into the customer needs and preferences, but on a greater scale. But as we just discussed, user privacy is closely regulated, particularly in banking, particularly in what information is drawn from the core. So what are you seeing in the case of the future of AI within CRMs? And how do you think about this today?
Gosh, well, I will tell you, it's been happening for a while. CRMs have already been down the path of AI for several years. Some of them have, some of the platforms have. And then, it's definitely a piece of it that's going to continue to evolve. It's even going to become more sophisticated. We're already seeing that, especially in this past year. And it's really going to continue to drive efficiency and further innovation. So it's really an important part of your CRM. So you want to make sure that the CRM you're looking at really has that AI functionality that's going to allow you to take advantage of those trends and really help, enhance the personalization, also really help automate tasks. All those are going to be really important as you move forward.
So for any user of a CRM today, or for a CLO, COO who may be looking to invest in a CRM, what questions should they be asking when it comes to the ability of AI behind the scenes in these systems?
So I think they need to fully understand what is currently available to do with AI within the CRM, but also what the roadmap is for the future and what the timeline is. Because a lot of times, they'll talk about their future roadmap, but it's maybe 2 or 3 years out. It's not like in the
Sure.
next 6 months. So yeah, exactly. So you've got to really distinguish about those. Jeremy, what else would you say to that?
All excellent points. So the questions that I would ask and the way I would go about even understanding, the need for something like this is go about identifying what are your specific business needs or your business challenges, right, that the institution is having. We always start there, right? Because the tech is the tech, but really what is the rationale behind why you're doing it, right? Is it the customer journey? Is it a disjointed customer experience? Are you looking for better marketing, targeted marketing, actionable insights? Or do you have siloed data throughout the institution and you're looking to make it more complete, more accurate, more accessible by the folks? So once those business challenges are identified, then we can really help understand what's going to be the best course of action. But the riddle that we're seeing a lot this year is data plus AI plus CRM. How does that all tie together? So understanding the business challenges and the business needs, and then using each part of that equation to formulate the big picture.
It makes a lot of sense based on every conversation that I have every day. Anything to do with the topic of data-driven insights, it's at the forefront of every CEO's mind. And truly it should be if they have anything in their own roadmap that equals long-term survival and growth.
I love it. And the other thing I just want to reiterate, Robin's passion truly shows through about this topic. She's lived it, she's breathed it, she has the tangible success in the institution she's worked at. But she mentioned earlier that it's not just a sales tool. And I really want to reiterate that because there's so much more to CRM systems than just sales, right? So if you want to use it for an increase in cross sells or upsells or leads referrals, but then on the other side, is it a client satisfaction? Is it a client retention? Is it onboarding? Is it faster report development and all the automation that goes with it? Is it forecasting? So the other thing that I would recommend is just an education session on what CRM systems can do and how to evaluate which one is right for you. And we work a lot in that space with helping understand that digital roadmap down the road, but also what's the best CRM platform for a specific institution.
Thank you. I think that is a very good reminder when we've spent so much of this conversation specifically talking about the sales side and quite frankly, feeding a little bit into, that misconception that it's specifically and only a sales tool. So I think it is very good to remember. So Jeremy, Robin, in the realm of data-driven insights and CRM specifically, what else didn't we cover today?
Gosh, I feel like there's so much. We could talk about this subject for hours. As Jeremy said, I'm really passionate about it as a former banker myself. being able to understand the solutions and how it literally changed the work life for myself and my team. I've experienced firsthand what to do, but also there's a whole lot to consider when you talk about implementation partners. When you look at CRM, there's sometimes they sell the license and then you have to go get an implementation partner, or some do it both together. But that's a whole other topic we could talk about, because there's a lot to consider in choosing not just the platform, but also the implementation partner. So yeah, lots to talk about with CRM. Would always open to chatting more about it.
It's a never-ending topic.
For sure.
That is fantastic. I really appreciate the both of you joining me today and letting me just pick your brains on this, because again, this is a conversation that comes up in my day to day, even if it's an area that I don't work in every day, and yet it seems to come up so regularly that I think for our listeners, it's really important to have the introduction to CRM, understand the full capacity of, what it can provide and what it can do for you, and know what to look for. If you are already a user, if your FI already has a CRM in place and a strategy in place, but also if it's something that you're considering. In all of those cases, I think it's a really important conversation. So I really appreciate you taking the time to be here with me today.
Happy to be here. Thank you, Jordan. Really appreciate it and loved our conversation.
Thank
I
you.
second that. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. That's it for Bank Talk. Thank you for listening. Have a good day and keep on learning.
Thank you for listening to the Bank Talk podcast, brought to you by Remedy Consulting. To reach out to the Wipfli team, please contact us at banktalkpodcast.com or go to wipfli.com. Thanks again, and we will see you in the next episode.